Hey guys, I recently made a 55-inch long longboard and I wanted to share how I built it. First, I needed to figure out how to make the veneers long enough to actually make a board that's 55 inches long because the longest veneers I had were 48 inches. I found a tutorial online by Roar Rocket, the same company that makes the vacuum bags. For the crossband veneers, you can simply splice crossbands together to make them longer. The grain runs perpendicular to the direction of the board, so having a seam in that direction doesn't significantly impact the strength of the board across the width. The core and face veneers aren't as straightforward though. These are meant to provide strength along the length of the board, and a seam perpendicular to the length of the board would create a weak spot. The Roar Rocket tutorial addresses this by cutting the core veneers at an angle and joining them together to make longer veneers. And then I saw on their website that they offer zigzag veneer specifically for making oversized longboards. And since I already had some 48-inch veneers, I figured I would try and make my own zigzag veneers because I also had access to a laser cutter, which would make making those a lot easier. So once I cut the zigzag veneer, I spliced the veneers together by gluing the edges and taping them together. I recommend placing some weight over the joint when they dry to get a more flush joint. Once glued, I sanded the glue off. I realized this was probably more work than was necessary, as I could have perhaps just used veneer tape, but I had already started down this path. After I joined all the veneers, I set up my layup, which was one face veneer, two core veneers, one crossband, one core, one crossband, two cores, one face. I made the board 9 plies for a couple of reasons. And to explain that, I want to back up a bit to the design of this longboard. A friend inspired me to build this, and his request was for a very long board, similar in shape to a Mijitsu longboard. His other request was to make it kick flippable. So I chose to make it 55 inches long and 9.5 inches wide based on that Mijitsu board he showed me. And for the nose and tails, I thought 6.5 inches would give enough space to position feet for popping the board, but not too much where you'd lower the pop angle and not get enough pop for that kickflip. I made the kicks 12 degrees and symmetrical, and I thought that would provide a familiar feeling kick on the longboard. A little bit to get some leverage, but not so much where the pop angle becomes too steep. For concave, I chose a 1/2 inch drop to provide some stiffness and leverage for flicking the board. I had made an 8-ply 46-inch maple longboard dancer in the past, which did have some spring to it, so I wanted to up the veneers and add one more core veneer to make it stiffer to account for that longer wheelbase that this board was going to have. The wheelbase alone on this 55-inch board is about 38 inches. So I glued up the board in 2 stages because I knew it was going to take a while to glue everything and I wouldn't be able to finish it in just one glue up before the glue started to dry. I started with 5 plies in the first glue up, and in the second I did 4. I let these sit in the vacuum bags at least 2 days before removing them, just to ensure they were pretty solid and cured. I cut the deck out using a laser cut template of the profile designed in 2D CAD, gave it a custom little paint job, and finally gave it a few layers of clear coat. I stored the board for about 2 weeks in my apartment and saw no signs of warping, which was promising. And overall, it seems like it was a successful build, and you can check out some of my other videos for more board building and board design for more info. Finally, here are some clips of it getting skated along with the sought after kickflip.